My name is Jean Wills, and this is the leadership video for BSN 335, Section 2.
What is your leadership style? Can you give a few examples of this in action?
My leadership style is authoritative, and I believe this works well especially on the unit that I work on, which is a psychiatric emergency department. And although I believe you should have a little bit of every leadership style, the authoritative and assertiveness works well in emergency situations. And if you have a great team, they don't question your assertiveness.
Tell me a time when you faced conflict or disagreed with a coworker or leader.
A time where I disagreed with a coworker slash leader was when I had a manic patient that had been there for quite a few days. However, he was still somewhat coherent and was refusing the long-acting injection antipsychotic, which was his rights. And a couple of days later, he attempted to AWOL and became threatening with staff, which resulted in him getting an emergency intramuscular injection, which is what I requested from the doctor. And the doctor instead ordered the long-acting injection antipsychotic, and I refused to give it because it was unethical, because that was something he refused, and it was not a medication that made sense in that particular situation.
Tell me a time when you were faced with a problem and successfully solved it.
A time where I was presented with a problem was oftentimes when I would show up to work and we get shift report. The night shift was not aware of what was required of mandated reporters and having to do DCFS, which is Department of Child and Family Service reports, and APS, which is Adult Protective Service reports. And I brought this up to leadership, and I made a PowerPoint and a training session, which I was able to teach everybody who was unaware.
Tell me a time you faced a staffing shortage, either from a leadership or employee situation. What were your actions related to being understaffed?
A time where I was faced with a staffing concern was when I arrived to work, and we normally have 5 to 6 nurses for 2 units, which is an adult and adolescent, and then we'll usually have 5 mental health workers for both units as well. And when I showed up to work, it was myself and one other nurse with 1 mental health worker. I was on the adult unit with the mental health worker, and I put the other nurse on the adolescent unit. And I just informed management of the safety concern, and I had security guards on the unit, and I just prioritized safety until we got other staff to come in.
What is your strategy to retain employees and maintain morale on the unit?
My strategy to maintain morale and employees is to just be open for feedback, and not just being a team leader, but just being team oriented and being approachable.
How do you offer feedback to employees?
I would offer positive feedback in public, in front of everybody, and if there's a coaching opportunity, I would do it in private.
Give an example of how you embrace cultural differences and diversity within your team.
To embrace cultural differences and diversity on the unit, I would like to do in-service meetings, not just on several topics on mental health, but also the differences in mental health across other cultures. And I would allow staff to either decorate or celebrate all holidays and traditions of all cultures on the unit.
How would you approach an underperforming employee?
If I had an underperforming employee, I would bring that nurse aside, and I would bring the concerns to their attention and the impact that it was having on the team and on the unit, and I would ask them what concerns are that they have or what's going on that's keeping them from performing to their abilities.
How would you approach an angry client?
I would approach an angry client with a non-threatening posture and demeanor, speaking in a calm voice, and I would empathize with them, and I would offer realistic solutions and choices, just so they feel that they're in control.
How do you commit to professional development? Provide an example.
To commit to professional development, I would just increase my learning opportunities, not just within healthcare, but also within the company, for advancements in leadership. And so an example of that is my getting my BSN, to enhance my opportunities for leadership roles.
What would you do if you were presented with a process improvement project with ambiguous directions?
If I was presented with that project, I would want clear instructions and directions, and not just assume and just keep going with the project. So I would reach back to whoever gave me that project and ask for clear expectations just so I can do it successfully.